in the blue, gold dries in the back of your mind. Sniff the glue, hold your breath and fade away. Tell me, what do you see? Baby, what do you see? Do you believe? Do you believe? If nothing's true, then you might as well tell a lie. If lies are real, then it's up for you to this.
All right, you're live. Oh, wait, stop. I'm sorry. I done fucked up.
That's good. Recording.
All right. We good now.
Welcome everyone to POV Crypto, the only podcast that both Bitcoiners and Ethereans listen to. I'm David Hoffman, here with my buddy Christian. Christian, how you doing?
Dude, I am congested as fuck. It is extremely uncomfortable. But despite that, I'm excited for this show because things have been spicy AF on crypto Twitter.
Yeah, crypto Twitter has been super spicy about so many different things. One of the things just happened, so we just added it to the conversation list, which is everyone freaking out that Andre is blowing up and quitting the urine protocol. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Another common subject in Twitter recently is the ability to verify the amount of Ether there is out there. Bitcoiners are poking fun because they think it's really funny that Ethereum doesn't really have any tools for verifying Ether. And I think that's a funny joke. That is kind of funny. Like, it's funny to poke fun at that. Whether or not that's real or not, we will go into that conversation after that. And then what else are we going to talk about? We're also going to talk about how a longtime listener of the show, perhaps listener zero even, Nathan on Twitter said
Chan.
that Christian, and Chan, he said that Christian is just favorable. Well, you say it. You said it better when we were pre-talking.
He says that I have an implicit positive bias towards Bitcoin and an implicit negative bias towards not Bitcoin.
Which we would expect nothing less, but we're also going to go into the nuances about being pessimistic about DeFi and its success. Christian, which one are we going to talk about first? Which one do you want to talk about first?
Yeah, let's talk about the Twitter trolling and just like, it seems as stems from people in the Ethereum community feeling really fucking good right now and being very.
I'm losing you, Christian.
Hello, can you see me?
Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. We're good.
It says my internet connection is unstable, so it's me.
Good. I'm glad it's not me.
Well, so what I was trying to say is it seems as though people in the Ethereum community are feeling real saucy, feeling real good. And, people are flaunting their gains on Twitter and other people are feeling defensive. I don't know, but it seems like there's just a lot of animosity on Twitter.
Yeah, that's for sure. Bitstein, what's his name? Who's Bitstein? Michael Goldstein.
Yeah.
Yeah, tweeted out ETH is cringe. Yeah, it is. He tweeted out ETH is cringe, and then that got the usual Bitcoin attention. It's like, haha, yes, like. And then Eric Voorhees comes in and says that, you know, you can continue to stick your head in your hand. ETH is really head in the sand. ETH is really, really cool, which was perfect because on Bankless, we had this perfect clip of just like Eric Voorhees just wrecking the concept of maximalism. And so I linked that right afterwards, and that drove up a storm as well.
Was that before
yeah,
or after? Was that before or after he said that 90% of his crypto wealth is in Bitcoin?
I don't know. I did not see him say that.
Well,
I mean, I believe it.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Eric is a Bitcoiner. It's just funny that like we have this very well respected OG Bitcoiner who's like telling all the Ethereum naysayers in the Bitcoin space that they have their head in the sand. But that is not the current drama that's going on right now. The current drama that's going on right now is that Pierre Richard, I'd say, was he the one leading the charge? He definitely is now.
Yeah.
Making fun of that. Show. Yeah, past guest of the show was making fun that it's hard to verify the amount of ether, and like, I get the point. This is a Ethereum and Bitcoin and blockchain. Blockchain is like this public ledger, right? And so, what good is a ledger if you can't verify the account balances of the ether supply? Like, it not being able to say what this supply of ether is not something that like we should just look past. However, at the same time, the criticism of Bitcoiners to Ethereum, if I understand this, is like, if you can't know what the supply of ether is, like, how do you know it's not like 100 times higher than what you actually think it is? Like, how do you not know it's a billion ether instead of just 111 million? How do you know it's not a trillion ether? Like, what if there's a trillion ether out there? So that's where Bitcoiners will say like ether supply is infinite, because it doesn't have as strong assurances that A, there isn't hidden ether somewhere, because the way that we are checking the supply of ether isn't accounting for that, or B, that we can't find a way to mint more, or something. Just the assurances are less. And again,
make sure to calculate those uncles.
Right. Point taken. However, at the same time, the market is pricing in that it doesn't give a fuck, right? And also, when people like, true, like I understand the point, but at the same time, the something would have to happen where ether actually does become meaningfully disassociated with the counted amount of ether that you can count via whatever script or any like archive node or whatever. Like, I yes, it would be better if we could tell you a number, but also if the meaningful number of ether that's impacting the secondary markets and the secondary market valuations of ether isn't impacted by this quote unquote, we don't really know what the supply of ether is bug, then it doesn't matter. And also what doesn't matter is like the next 10 million people that come into the crypto space, like on average, aren't going to really care about that nuance. And if because everyone is money motivated, and if it's not showing up in the markets, and ether continues to be priced as if it is roughly reported as to what its supply is, then no one's going to care. No one's going to care. That's my position.
So you think it's bad, but like fundamentally it's bad, but you don't think that retail investors give a shit. To be honest,
hang on. You froze for me, and hang on. Can't see. There we go. Now we're there.
This is all me. I can see.
Yeah, should I pause my video?
I can see the signal saying that they're mad at what's happening with my internet. No, but
do you want me to stop my video?
No. Let's just try to grind through it. So I mean, really, what you're saying is that there's a bug, and this is a bad thing, but ultimately, really investors don't give a shit.
Not a bug, but a not awesome feature. Sure. Yeah. And over time, the average person won't really care about that nuance. Yes.
What if the average person over time does care about that nuance, as in the predictable monetary supply starts to become something that people care about more? Because I think that is currently something that people are ill-informed about why it's important.
Yes. And I still think in comparison to legacy monetary systems, Ethereum will offer a very strong level of assurances as to like the future schedule. I think there will be more assurances about ether distribution than any other system out there other than Bitcoin. I would argue.
I don't find it
I know you're not
helpful.
muted.
I don't find it helpful to like call Ether exactly the same as to the traditional financial system. Although I have called DeFi skeuomorphic, I think that there are meaningful differences. But I think really in this case, Ethereum is offering kind of like the worst of both situations. Like it's actually comical how no one in the Ethereum space can actually verify how much Ether there is, and it's very similar to how not even anyone in the Fed can verify how many dollars there is, and that there's general confusion on how to do that and where the dollars are counted and who should be counting what dollars. So I do find it funny that there is that kind of commonality. And I think it is also odd that Ethereum kind of finds itself from a privacy perspective, much worse than the traditional financial system. But from a like transparency and audibility perspective, also not much better than the traditional financial system. So I do think that there is some merit.
I just disagree with that last one. I think Ethereum has the capacity to be the most privacy preserving chain, especially in comparison to Bitcoin. Like Matt Odell often has called like Ethereum like the KYC chain, because for some reason he thinks KYC is going to be a requirement in Ethereum to even work. But the whole internal DeFi ecosystem is this natively non-KYC ecosystem. And that's the internal side of Ethereum, given to it by its Turing-complete smart contract capabilities, is how you get away from KYC. Whereas Bitcoin is it's code at the center, but it's KYC on the edges because of the institution of Bitcoin banks, which is how apparently Bitcoin plans to scale to the world. Bitcoin is going to scale through KYC, and I don't understand how like Bitcoiners are pointing at Ethereum and calling like this like the KYC ecosystem, when literally the only further implementation of crypto economics after Bitcoin and Ethereum that isn't KYC as a whole entire encompassing ecosystem is DeFi.
So, I mean, I think just to kind of give a little bit more color to Matt's criticism as Ethereum as the KYC chain is proof of stake. If you must, in order for the average staker to stake, if they must be on an exchange, that adds a KYC layer. And then on top of that, if you wanted to use a service like Bison Trails or something like that, then that also creates a KYC layer for you to run your node. So, I mean, both in the staking ecosystem as well as the purchasing Ethereum ecosystem with fiat, there are a lot of areas for KYC to kind of cement themselves as a standard. Whereas Bitcoin, you can mine without KYC and you can easily validate the chain and run a node without using a cloud service. And that doesn't seem to be the case with Ethereum. So there is areas for KYC to kind of cement itself and create a KYC layer. And I mean, that was one of the big pushbacks I gave to Joe Aluz from Bison Trails when he came on the show.
Yeah. So this is one part an argument about the hardware of requirements of Ethereum, alluding to how like other people will always run their node elsewhere. And that's probably decently likely. Like if you don't want to run your own node, you have to use the service of somebody else, which at the very least,
if you don't want to or can't host your own software, then yes, you must use someone else's.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily KYC. Like KYC is like passport and like driver's license.
Yeah, but and so, can you name a cloud service project or a company that allows you to sign up without doing proper KYC, especially if it's like, a higher value amount?
I mean, I haven't explored this. I would be the worst.
It doesn't
person
exist.
to ask this.
It doesn't exist. You must at least give at the minimum, you must at least give them an email. But for anything that is like substantial computing, you must do like KYC.
AWS.
Yeah.
Like driver's license.
Yeah, you got to sign up. You got to do all that stuff. Got to give them a credit card. Like there is
you give them a credit card.
Yeah,
credit card. Of course.
I mean, yeah. Tell me how to get a credit card without KYC.
Yeah, but then running
layer.
A node,
signing up for Bison Trails,
running a node
layer.
for
signing up for Infura is a KYC layer. Like in order to be a part of the network, if you have to KYC, then you are the KYC chain, right?
Right. But there's the design and construction of Ethereum 2.0 and even Ethereum 1.0 today is still like Ethereum 1.0 is relatively easy. Like, yes, you need to know how to use a computer, but that's like about it. And then you also need to have the incentive to run the node.
Just like calculating the supply of ETH.
Okay, no, like downloading and running a node is like a download the file and press the button. Like calculating the supply of ETH.
Well, how did you
did
you verify it completely by yourself, or did you have trust
well,
in that, or was there trust in that process? Because I think one of the main criticisms is that in a lot of Ethereum nodes, that there is a trusted node that you're trusting to start the chain head from.
Right. I am not an expert enough to know off the top of my head. However, the design principles of Ethereum 2.0, which is we're all going to, are to make this trivially easy, like even easier than running Bitcoin nodes. And so like it's a very anti-KYC system in order to up and allow people to stake their Ether on a goddamn laptop. Like this, it doesn't make any sense. It's in the values of the chain. It's baked into the values of the chain. It's baked in. Like it wouldn't be Ethereum if we couldn't do this. And Bitcoiner criticism of that is just like saying it's just not doing it as much as Bitcoin is.
What do you mean? Like lots of Ethereum is run on Infura, which is on Amazon. There's a massive cloud. Like when you talk to Ethereans,
that's like the same staking pool argument. Sure. As soon as Infura is
people in Ethereum do not care about running their own hardware. It's fucking obvious. Every time you talk to them, they don't care, and they don't care about validating their entire supply. So now they don't run their own hardware, and they don't validate their entire supply. So maybe this is a Bitcoiner perspective, but like these are the fundamentals of crypto: is running your own hardware.
No, they're not.
They're what's in your code. Absolutely.
They're fundamentals of Bitcoin. Like, and sure,
running
like if you really want,
is a fundamental of Bitcoin. I think that's a fundamental.
It's a personal. There needs to be sufficient decentralization, sure, but like when we have like these Ethereum developers who go to a hackathon in order to build something, and they need to be able to have infrastructure to build it quickly because there's 4 of them and they have a weekend. Like they're not bringing their node with them. And so like companies like
Realty, they're not bringing their node with them either.
No, actually you can, because it's your laptop. That's the whole thing, is now it does go with you if that's what you want.
Your laptop's going to scale, but you're not going to bring your laptop to the hackathon?
No, yes, you do bring your laptop to the hackathon, and if you wanted to have your own node on it, you can just do it there.
People are not running a node because it is computationally expensive and difficult to do so, and there's general community apathy towards it. That's it.
Yes, for Ethereum 1. Yes, because it's difficult to in Ethereum 1. Yes, this is what I've been saying every single time we ever talk about Ethereum 2. We always say that's part of the reconstruction of the whole chain.
When we talked to, what's his face, the ETH2 developer very recently. Why am I blanking on his name? No, Van Loon.
Oh, I pressed Van Loon.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a lot of the implementations out there are being built for very intense computing stack. Although, what was the one that he mentioned that he's working on? Prismatic.
He's on Prismatic, which is like one that you and I would use. And then there's Nimbus that's meant for like really, really small devices.
The really, I mean, that was like questionable to begin with, because like
it's just very niche and specific.
Yeah, I mean,
but it'd be like for running on like a Raspberry Pi.
Go back to listen to the Van Loon episode. Decide if ETH2 can run on a laptop, based on Preston's answers.
Anyways, so like the point is, like Ethereum is 90 on the cryptographic trust spectrum. It's like 98% there if you use Bitcoin as like the anchor point of 100, and it's because you get diminishing returns in that last mile, right? And like the last 2% probably mean nothing over time.
Maybe. Or maybe that the hard supply versus the unknown supply is literally the competitive difference.
So you think that people are going to look at one platform which has that last mile finished and tied off and say, okay, I know exactly the supply of Bitcoin. Or there's this Ethereum platform where like, okay, it's within 0.1% of this number and all of DeFi's on it.
Well, it's not within, it's theoretically within, and we have no assurances on what it's going to be in the future because that future state has no Lindy effect in order to trust.
Yeah.
So it is a big difference.
No one's gonna. Very few people are gonna like sign me up.
See,
for the
but
other side.
but so you're saying that, and it sounds like no one is actually thinking these things. But what it manifests in is where's the macro people talking about Ethereum? They're not. Where's the narrative in the mass public about Ethereum? They're just not. So every single
it doesn't need to be a narrative.
Every single day that, of course it does. Every single
it's
day.
actually a product.
That's what, yeah. So there has to be trust, recognition, and understanding of that product. And that manifests itself in what plebes understand through memes. And I mean, the Bitcoin meme just keeps getting stronger every single day.
So you're just saying like, yeah, Bitcoin's got its narrative and its meme and it's doing good with that. Except you're not talking about like, okay, well, let's talk about building a product that people want to use. So because people don't care about decentralization, people don't care about trust minimization. People want products that improve their lives, especially
you mean like
financial
hard money
products
that can't be inflated.
People don't know that they want that. Like maybe they do, and then they will also
They're knowing
get it from
every day
Ether.
more than they did yesterday or the day before.
I don't know why you were saying those words. I don't know
Money
what has
printer go
compelled you to
burr.
make. Sure.
Didn't the mass public just realize that their system is fucked? Like this is just it's a gradual step of people waking up.
You can spin the same narratives on Ethereum with like the finance and the economy. Like the economy is fucked up. Finance is fucked up. Wall Street is taking over and eating everything. So go to a different financial platform that doesn't do that. Like we can spin these narratives all day. At the end of the day, you have to build a product. And what DeFi is a massive mesh network of products that all improve together. So like there's this thing that on Ethereum, this structure on Ethereum that's growing to be this just like, let me solve your problem for you. Versus Bitcoin is like, let me tell you what your problem is. Like I know where I put my cards.
Well, you often have to learn what is wrong with your current situation before you can you can find the answer. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two.
Yeah, but if the problem wasn't blaring you in the face.
No, but see, this is where I disagree with you. Number two, in terms of building products that people will want, as a investor myself, I think people in the future are going to value non-sovereign hard money with network effects.
I totally agree.
And I don't think that they're going to value speculating on shitcoins, which is, based on previous conversations we've had, is kind of one of the only factors about Ethereum that give it an advantage at this point. Because
okay,
that's
you can
what
say
DeFi
speculating
is.
on shitcoins, but no, it's not. It's
because you can only get the shitcoins in Uniswap. That's why you need ETH, right? Because the speculators are controlling the market according to Ethereans.
If you want to own a equity in a protocol, a store of value asset that returns passive income into hard money that's on the same protocol, you can preserve and store your capital and wealth there. That's a huge problem that that people have these days. It's capital preservation and ways to do that, and specifically with people that have opinions as to where they want to place their capital. Like people's opinions aren't going to be like, okay, it's Bitcoin. It's be like, let me like look. And let me invest in things that get me excited. Like that's what people do. And Bitcoin is just like not exciting by design. That's its whole thing. It's by design boring, which makes it exciting, but it's by design boring.
No, I think when it comes to money, 99% of people want it to be boring and they want it to just work and they want it to be predictable.
Well, no, that the DeFi ecosystem and the money that it runs on are separate things.
No, but like that's 99% of the demand. And I, again, as an investor looking at the space, like sound money. Boom. 21 million.
It's
the
not
network
Bitcoin's
effects and
memes.
liquidity. What do you mean? Like these are realities that only Bitcoin has.
Yeah, but to the degree that they have them and Ethereum doesn't, if you subtract the amount that Ether has it from the amount that Bitcoin has it, there's not much left over.
No,
there's this like scripting problem.
There's a massive difference. You can look at the size of the market cap. You can look at how definitive the monetary policy is. You can look at how long the code has been running. You can look at just so many different factors, and you're going to see time and time again that Bitcoin is in the lead. And I think one thing that people don't mention enough, and that I don't know why people in Ethereum, they tend to miss it, but the fiat to crypto pairs, Bitcoin is dominant. Like, there are very, very, very few cryptocurrencies that have as many fiat pairs as Bitcoin. Like, Ether is the only one that comes close, and it's not even close. It's not even close.
That's nothing. It's not even a fair comparison.
So that's
because,
how value gets moved into the crypto
Yes,
space.
I understand.
It's
right.
from fiat into crypto.
You're just measuring Bitcoin's age versus Ethereum's age. Like, this is you're
Bitcoin's
just,
not getting any younger though. Every single year, Bitcoin is also continuing to age.
Yeah, but it's not anything about
Lindy.
There's no moat around Bitcoin about its on ramps. Like something else that people want to get to will have on ramps built to that thing. So when there are things on DeFi that people want to do, there will be on ramps built there. And the fact that I'm willing to bet that Ethereum is way further along when it comes to on ramps than Bitcoin was at 5 years old, like by orders of magnitude.
Yeah, because Bitcoin already built that infrastructure.
Yes, sure. Like now this is symbiotic, of course.
You're
but there's
standing on the shoulders of giants.
We're building it together.
That doesn't really say much about.
Plus,
Ethereum.
there's like, think for example, realty. Like somebody comes to realty and they buy $1,000 worth of real estate, and then it gets into Ethereum, right? It gets into their wallets. Like that's a on ramp that will never happen for Bitcoin. Like and shit like that will grow and grow and grow. Like
that's
you can go buy
on-ramp.
Gods Unchained playing cards with your credit card. Sorry.
I mean, that's a pretty small on ramp. I can make the.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
The example, all the Sats back programs. I don't see any Gwei back programs. Like, how are you actually communicating with average people?
Okay, so Bitcoin has
so pay. I mean,
Lolly.
There's a lot.
So,
pay, Lolly, Fold.
Okay,
there's a lot.
Okay, so
there's a lot. Sats back is the demonstration of programmable money meets liquidity.
Yeah, but it's not the same thing as like tokenized real estate.
Where's
dude?
the demand
like real
for
estate,
Gwei back?
Real estate is like
why don't people want Gwei back?
It's fucking cash back on an internet website. That's not groundbreaking.
It's pretty fucking groundbreaking.
That's just like a community aggregation thing. No, it's not. It's just like
a display of that there is liquidity.
The
Or there's a display that there is liquidity in Bitcoin, and you can run a sufficient business model off of that. Versus there isn't sufficient liquidity in Gwei. And if you were to have a Gwei only back system, it doesn't seem as though there is enough liquidity for people to give a shit on that.
Okay. I don't really want to debate the value of a Gwei of a Sats back program versus the theoretical thousands.
Why are people denominating their points
value
back in Sats and not Gwei? I want
because
to
they're Bitcoiners and they're being commoditized by Lolly.
There's more than one. There's a lot.
Whatever. They're all commoditizing the same product. Bitcoiners who are Sat addicts.
And that's bad for Bitcoin?
I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying it's just not that crazy.
I mean, my mom's using Lolly.
Yeah, because it saves her money.
Ether Lolly. She's not using Etherfold. She's not getting any Gwei back. Why isn't my mom having Gwei, dude? Why isn't there an easy way for her to get Gwei without KYCing at an exchange?
I'm sure there is.
There is.
I'm sure there is.
There isn't.
Yes. Well,
maybe if she minds, but you're about to take that away from her.
We need to move on to another topic before we have an hour and a half long podcast.
Okay. Well, you talked about like DeFi as a Hydra. I mean,
right.
I guess I think it is a Hydra. I agree. Like most of these systems are Hydras, but it's also a Hydra with all of its heads like intertwisted with each other. So they're not independent heads.
You mean the body is
no.
All the heads connect to the same body?
The heads are also twisted together because there's just a lot of interoperability between these protocols. And yeah, okay, if Uniswap breaks, it's gonna break everything. It's not gonna just break Uniswap. Like this is a house of cards. It is not a Hydra.
Yeah. Okay. So no,
it's not. Show me how these things are independent from each other. Like compound, curve, Uniswap, and if any of these things break or get compromised, Maker, if any of them break, Like they are all chips in
That's
everyone's
no,
armor.
no, no, no. They are coalesced into this like single structure, but like there's specific rules and dependencies for these things. So like Pool Together needs Compound and MakerDAO, but it doesn't need Uniswap, it doesn't need Curve, it doesn't need Aave, it doesn't need Nexus, it doesn't need whatever. Like there are certain dependencies, and so it's just like its own like fractal of different things stitching themselves together in ways that are useful. And you only stitch yourself into the stable things. You don't stitch yourself into the unstable things. And as things grow in stability, more things get stitched together. So sure, like you can call it a house of cards, but even that is not doing it justice. It's young. It's like it's learning to walk, it's learning to grow, like at these very things. Like these things are fragile at the beginning, as all organisms are. But as time goes on, and as more composability is actually better, not less composability, because more composability actually increases. There's more redundancy in the system. So if something breaks, if Uniswap breaks, well, then you can just go to Curve, or you can go to 1inch, or you can go to whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, there's other things. There are other cells of the body that can be replaced, as bodies do. And so when we were talking about like your bias about being optimistic about things with Bitcoin and pessimistic about things with DeFi and Ethereum, I think it's fair to pick out one single Ethereum protocol and be pessimistic on that one. Like we can pick out any Ethereum protocol and like we can talk about its weaknesses, its failures and trust assurances, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I can't really be bearish on the composition, because what can fail can be replaced by something that broke or didn't break. And so I think it's just as fair to be bullish on Bitcoin fixing itself. Bitcoin fixes this because it is so resilient, and same thing for DeFi.
I mean, I don't think that DeFi is super, super fragile, but I don't think that it's super, super robust. Again, there are like again, if you look at the composition of the teams in DeFi, where these projects, what power these projects have and which projects are interlaced with each other, there is a massive amount of fragility in the United States with key projects. So Maker, Compound, Uniswap, all of them are funded by the same exact VCs. All of them are running on the same exact infrastructure. All of them use the same exact tokens and work with each other often. And then all of them are identifiable individuals. So if you want to call that a Hydra, like it's a really bad Hydra. Like all of these things are extremely vulnerable. Like, and on top of
Not
that,
Uniswap in the slightest.
and they're tied together. Like, so, okay, sure. So maybe there's a little bit of redundancy between Curve, 1inch, and Uniswap, but let's be real. Like it's a Pareto distribution. 80% is on Uniswap, and then if Uniswap went down, that would be a massive cornerstone that's removed from the entire system.
Okay,
if Maker went down, that'd be another massive cornerstone.
Maker could go down. Yes.
If Compound goes down, that's going to be another big issue, right? Like, think about all the things that are tied into Compound, including Y Finance.
Right. Yeah. So first off,
I don't see how any of these things go down. Any of the major pieces go down that are all in the United States and all funded by the same VCs and all use the same infrastructure without bringing down the whole thing.
How? What do you mean? Like, if they all go down, then the whole thing comes down?
How if any single one of these organizations that are based in the United States, funded by the same VCs and using the same infrastructure, I don't see how one of them going down doesn't bring down all of DeFi.
Right. So like we need to be careful with when we say like going down, because like going down means a specific, in reality, it will manifest in one particular way. Like Maker. But bug in what? Bug in what contract that did what thing? Like for Compound, was it the Oracle? For MakerDAO, was it the hat contract? I don't know. Like a bug doesn't just like break the whole entire thing.
Sure. So it has to do with like can this protocol be relied on, right? And if there is if there's a moment in time where the protocol cannot be relied on, or the protocol is compromised, or the protocol is taken down by authorities, Like those are real situations. Those are real. Like you need to take those things seriously. And I mean, I just don't think that Ethereans are adversarial thinkers. They don't run their own hardware. They don't care about the supply of their software. They don't care about if they're using cloud services. They don't care about being anonymous. Like all of these things are attack vectors, and they're all intertwined. And there are major players that are in the United States that can be attacked if you wanted to.
Yeah. So I think I want to pivot real quick and kind of go back to adversarial thinking. Like the thing is, all of those things that you just listed are options. And most importantly, it's having the option that is what upholds the system. And so, sure, like you can compare Ethereans to Bitcoiners, mind you, not to the rest of the world in those characteristics and say like Ethereans are more or less of these desirable characteristics than Bitcoin. But at the end, what is reality is that maybe they don't care about it because times are good and we're peaceful, and maybe there's winters coming and there's war ahead of us. But primarily, there is the option to do all those things. And if it needs to be done, I don't think it's fair to assume that Ethereans won't do it if there was an actual justifiable reason, a threat to actually do this. And I understand like you want to have it before the bad stuff happens. And maybe that's just a folly of human nature. But also at the same time, like it's not like the United States is just going to like come out and with SWAT teams into your Ethereum node running home and order you to take it down. Like even if they were like you no, they didn't invade people's homes. They went downtown. It's like that's what Bitcoin.
They pulled people off the street that are peacefully protesting and put them in unmarked vehicles.
This is now we're talking about running a computer inside of your own home. Like this is entirely different.
And have you even thought about bleeding your IP address?
So like we'll get to this point. We'll solve like Ethereum is a place of solving problems. We'll solve the problems when they're actually worthy of being solved. But there's just simply better ROI for developers' labor elsewhere on Ethereum. And like one of my biggest concerns about Bitcoin like trolling about like Ethereum development is like it's and like one of our developers went off and built this script to satisfy this Twitter like hubbub from Bitcoiners, and he works at MakerDAO. So like he took time off of MakerDAO to build this fucking script for Bitcoiners because they were cranky about not being able to validate the ETH supply. And so like it's an attack on Ethereum development, trying to get Ethereum developers just to waste their time and spin their wheels to satisfy these ridiculous demands from Bitcoiners. And so like at some point I'm just like, I don't even want to answer to it. It's just not even worth the energy. If I engage with it, you're removing my ability for me personally for like make another like podcast episode about something cool Ethereum stuff or write another article or something.
Yeah, case in point, Ethereans.
So that's my adversarial thinking. Is what
Ethereans don't give a shit about personal responsibility. They don't give a shit about protecting themselves against an adversary. They don't give a shit about monetary policy. They don't give a shit about validating their own hardware. And guess what? When shit hits the fan, it's going to be too late to give a shit, and you are going to be thinking like, man, I should have fucking listened to some adversarial thinkers.
Yeah, and then until that happens, DeFi will continue to have like basically frictionless growth. In the longer, just like Bitcoin, the longer it goes untampered with, the harder and more anti-fragile it is.
I mean, again,
so those
there's no
those
first
SWAT
principles
teams
to
that are
make it
coming
hard and
knocking pretty
anti-fragile.
damn-
All of those teams are still well known. All of these organizations are still in the United States. All of these, I mean, there is nothing like endlessly. Again, the anti-fragility of Bitcoin comes from more people running their hardware, more people owning the cryptocurrency, more people validating everything about the currency. Like, Lindy is important, but the fundamentals of the development of the hardware infrastructure is also important. And again, like, Ethereum does not care about getting off the cloud. Like, it just doesn't.
Okay.
Like, how can you claim to be an adversarial thinking and you don't even want to run your own hardware? Like, you're saying, okay, ETH2 is designed to do that, but no one in the ETH space even gives a shit about that. They just don't.
That's not true at all.
They don't.
True at all.
I've been looking at as I've interacted with ETH people, they don't care about running their own hardware. On the flip side, Bitcoin people are obsessed with running their own hardware. So how could you tell
Because
me
that's
that
all
these
you can
communities are doing
fucking
the
do.
same?
There's like 3 things to do on Bitcoin. You can run a node, you can send
You
Bitcoin,
can actually
you can open a
validate it. You
multi-sig.
can the 3 things you can do on Bitcoin. Actually run it. Actually run it. You can actually run Bitcoin. Holy shit. You can't actually run Ethereum unless you have a fucking high-powered computer.
That's not even true at all. Like
You
can,
can't
you
run
can
it.
still
Are you running
no,
Ethereum? I'm running Bitcoin.
No,
It's
because
happening on my
take
fucking
my
Raspberry
laptop
Pi.
places. It's you can run
And I can
Ethereum
validate
1
the whole
on a
supply.
laptop. Yes, I'm sure you can. And like the thing is, you can do that on Ethereum too. It's more intensive, but you can still do it. And also, like, what's the point of running a node now when like we're all going to run our own staking nodes in the future? Like
Well,
on
how
Ethereum.
do you get to your future staking node unless you, unless you
Plus,
either
it's
trustlessly
just
got there or
totally
you
false
trusted
that
someone
like
to
no
get there?
one's running Ethereum nodes because there's Ethereum is running. Like there are plenty of nodes. It's not
Hey,
like we have
Amazon's
this
also
shortage
running.
of nodes.
No one's running Amazon nodes, and Amazon's running, so I guess it's working, right? No need to run Amazon nodes. We're good.
Yes.
So let's talk about Andre. You interviewed him on Bankless. And by the
Mhm.
way, everyone, you should listen to Bankless. I'm actually quite the fan of Bankless. I think I've listened to more Bankless than David's listened to FedWatch. So as a blind
That might be
maxi,
true.
I'm super blind because, I listen to a lot of these ETH head podcasts now.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, so some FUD came out about Andre saying that he's like quitting because of drama, and so I kind of loosely skimmed over this Decrypt piece, and it was definitely like a hot piece, like a hot take, trying to stir some storms. And you can let's see if I still have the Uniswap exchange. Yes, I do. Oh, wow, it's already back up. Okay, so right when we started this podcast, which was an hour ago, which was like 30 minutes after this Decrypt piece, Yiffy price went from 13 ETH per Yiffy down to 8.3, and now it's up to 11.1. So 50% recovery. But yeah, so the piece said basically Andre just is really tired and fed up and doesn't want to deal with drama. And so we interviewed him on Wednesday, and that's episode's coming out on Monday. And so if you like the story, you can find it on Bankless. And he did he start right off the interview because we asked him, Andre, how are you? And he goes, well, like kind of shitty actually. There's a lot of shit in my life that I never really want to deal with. And basically, long story short, is like the Urine protocol and the Yiffy token blew up, and everyone in the DeFi space is like used to like venture backed teams that have like support and a business and an office and a team, and Andre is just Andre who built this protocol and issued these tokens, and now it's on Ethereum, right? So what everyone is super excited about Yiffy is like it's the most fair launch of all time, and the founder itself took none of it, and it was only quote unquote liquidity mined. And so it did this great thing to develop this community, except all these people that are part of this now Yiffy community are probably also a part of other DeFi communities like Compound or Maker, which have plenty of funding and a whole team to support this thing. And so Andre's been like doing the work of like a entire company, basically. He basically accidentally built a company, and now he is having to do support for that accidental company that he built. And he's just super drained. It's the long story. You're muted.
I want to make sure the audio is working. I don't know why my phone is... I'm trying to like listen to the audio on the phone. Can you keep talking?
Works for me. Works for me.
Okay, sweet. So I was just freaking out for no reason. Well, I mean, I don't have that much context on the Andre, and I truthfully feel bad for him. But bro, you're a fucking fiduciary. When you build these contracts, you're a fiduciary. Of course you are. Of course
no,
he is.
He doesn't have control over the contracts anymore.
Okay, well, he was a fiduciary. It's like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. All of these people playing around in Ethereum, they're just fucking blissfully ignorant. But the reality is, you're fucking fiduciaries. You're building financial contracts. You are building these things that make you a business. And unless it's decentralized from day one, you kind of don't have any... Like, you don't have a lot of recourse. Like, you built
it. Basically
you took people's money, and you held the keys for a while. Like, and
So-
he's upset that he has to do support. Like, bro, then you should have been anonymous. You shouldn't have claimed to do support. You should have just made this thing a thing. But you know what? You didn't want to have a business. You didn't want to take responsibility. You didn't want to understand what being a fiduciary is, and now you're crying. And it was kind of hilarious because I heard about him for the first time because he was doing this before iHeart or what Y Finance or iFinance blew up, and you know, when it blew up, I was like, wow, this is that crybaby from before that didn't understand what it meant to be a fucking fiduciary.
You're missing so much context.
I mean,
like,
I'm
so
just saying what I like why I was skeptical of him in the first place, and I'm just not surprised that he's doing it again. If you are building these contracts, you need to be prepared to be a fiduciary. Be prepared to run a business. And if you're not, do it anonymously and don't fucking make yourself a public figure. Like, this is fucking adversarial thinking. This is being a
Here's the
adult.
story of Andre that you are missing that is making you swing and miss. Okay? Because you didn't listen, and when the bank list comes out on Monday, you can listen to this. Yeah, it hasn't come out yet. So Andre actually took money from like friends and family. This is the true story. He took money from friends and family, like dollars, so he could turn it into stable coin, so he could yield farm with it to get a return for friends and family. And so he built out these systems that his own contracts to yield farm. And so he would deposit money in there and it would do his work for him. It's like the story of the engineer who like worked really hard to write a script that would automate the job for the rest of his life. So he kept on moving money around from protocol to protocol to chase the best yield rates. And then he built a script to just do it for him. And then he built like liquidity mining came out, like comp farming, like MTA farming, like whatever, all that stuff came out. So he had to redo the script, include like the tokens of all those protocols that are issuing tokens, so that the protocol would earn those rewards, so he could sell those and make those more money for his friends and family. And then he realized that, well, all these things are changing all the time. Like new protocols are coming in to add new liquidity mining, all these different ways to get return. And so now I just have to keep on updating the algorithm. And so I don't want to do that anymore. So I'm just going to make these tokens that like decide what that algorithm is. And that's what the IFI token is. And that's what Yearn Finance is. And he very explicitly was like frustrated with people who were purchasing the token as an investment, because the token is just meant to be this tool that determines where the money goes, and the contracts and algorithms that are like able to be put into the contracts are supposed to be created by other people that aren't him, because it's supposed to be like autonomous and automatic. And so like what Yearn and Yiffy is, he's not a custodian, he's not a fiduciary. He built these things, and it was obviously at the same time like not advertising the usage of this. He just turned the keys over to the community organically, so that like the contract could do his job. He's trying to get the community to do his job for him. And so he built this system and then he turned over the keys to the kingdom to the community, so that this could be this community run tool, which is what it is. And so he owns, I think, like 2 Yiffy tokens out of the 30,000, and he yield farmed them himself. And so now there's like these 30,000 tokens. I don't know, like 4,000. There's 4,400-ish holders of this token, and they now decide what the algorithm is, and he has no more control of it, and he can't change anything.
But they also get to decide what he does with his life. Like,
I mean, no, that's just a fucking joke, dude. It's like a governance token. So like, let's vote on if Andre comes on the Bankless podcast. Ha 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 ha. That's funny.
I don't know. This guy seems like a jokester. I mean, I'm sure he built something great. I'll listen to the interview, but like, I've just seen him crying on Twitter now multiple times about being a fiduciary and being building a contract out and not liking it, and how toxic the Ethereum community and the DeFi community is, and blah blah blah. It's like, dude, either build a product and like own it, or build a product and be anonymous, or don't build a product or keep it private, you know? Like, okay. He publicly went for it. He publicly released this stuff. He publicly runs that Twitter account. Like, this dude, like, whatever you want to call it, like, this dude's trying to get involved. This dude is trying to play a part of the game, but he wants none of the responsibility. okay, whatever. And I just can't believe that you've been, messaging all of our friends from college and be like, yo, you should invest in Yiffy, when this motherfucker is just like, he's so unstable that he can't get his shit together long enough to not freak
It's not
out
him
before-
anymore. It's not him. He's gone. He's out. He
Okay.
never advertised it, and plus he's not even crying on Twitter. That's the Decrypt article, which
He was crying on Twitter last time.
Okay,
Why do you go on, why do you go on Decrypt if he wasn't trying to get some?
I don't know.
Get some
I don't know,
attention?
and you don't know where that Decrypt article came from or what's that citing. I would like to know. I'm going to go like investigate and find out. But like, I would like to know to what degree that actually reflected, like, because it was clearly had an intent with that article to drive up a reaction from the DeFi crowd. And no, Andre never was just like crying on Twitter about this one. Yes, the first one, not the second one. And I would like to know to what degree the Decrypt article has any actual reflection in Andre's thoughts, or whether he actually thinks those things. Because that's not what was reflected when I interviewed him for 3 days ago. 3 days ago. So I feel like I have pretty good information in comparison to whatever was said on Decrypt.
You got better information than me. I just have hearsay and my experience learning about I finance the first time, which is just looking through Twitter drama and seeing this guy being rather upset.
All right, shall I wrap it up?
Yep, let's do it.
All right, guys, you can follow the podcast at POV CryptoPod. You can follow me at Trustless State, both on Twitter and on Bankless. Christian?
Yep, you can find me at CK_snarks. You can find me at Bitcoin Magazine. You can't talk to me this week because I am going to be completely out of signal. So, yeah. Enjoy your weekend, enjoy your week, and validate your cryptocurrency supplies and transactions on your own. Cheers.
All right, cheers, everyone.